Jay-Z stood at the crossroads of two worlds. On one side, the music industry that had shaped his identity and propelled him to superstardom. On the other, the formidable realm of business and finance, a domain often guarded by tradition and skepticism. To many, he was an icon in the rap game, a cultural force whose lyrical prowess and entrepreneurial ventures had redefined what it meant to be an artist in the 21st century. Yet, despite his undeniable success, there remained a lingering doubt from the established financial institutions that questioned his capacity to navigate their world with equal mastery. From the beginning, Jay-Z's journey into entrepreneurship was marked by a subtle but pervasive skepticism. The same institutions that celebrated his musical achievements viewed his business ambitions with wary eyes, often underestimating his strategic mind. This skepticism was not born out of mere unfamiliarity with his career. It was steeped in broader societal narratives that frequently doubted the intellectual and financial acumen of artists stepping beyond their traditional roles. For Jay-Z, this was more than just a challenge. It was a call to redefine expectations. His reputation as a shrewd businessman began to take root in the early 2000s, as he expanded his interests beyond music. Jay-Z's ventures into fashion, sports management, and record labels showcased a multifaceted approach to entrepreneurship. Yet, despite these successes, the banking world remained cautiously reserved. Traditional financiers often viewed him through a narrow lens, dismissing his business endeavors as extensions of his celebrity rather than legitimate enterprises backed by rigorous strategy and insight. This skepticism was epitomized in encounters with prominent bankers and financial advisors who, behind polished smiles, conveyed a subtle disbelief. Their doubts manifested not in overt hostility but in a patronizing condescension, a quiet undercurrent that suggested Jay-Z's ambitions were more aspirational than attainable. For him, these interactions revealed the invisible barriers that artists faced when attempting to transition into spaces dominated by established power structures. Jay-Z's response to this skepticism was neither immediate confrontation nor retreat. Instead, it was a period of reflection and resolve. He recognized that proving his worth in the financial arena required more than reputation. It demanded tangible evidence of his business acumen. This realization spurred a commitment to deepen his understanding, assemble knowledgeable advisors, and approach each opportunity with the meticulousness of a seasoned executive. His vision extended beyond personal gain. It was about challenging the narratives that confined artists to specific roles and proving that business savvy and cultural influence were not mutually exclusive. Jay-Z saw himself not just as a musician-turned-entrepreneur, but as a pioneer breaking down the walls between art and commerce, creativity and capital. In the early stages, his strategy was to build quietly, learning the nuances of investment, market dynamics, and negotiation. He surrounded himself with a team that brought expertise in areas where he sought growth, blending his instinctual understanding of culture with rigorous financial analysis. This blend of intuition and knowledge became a hallmark of his approach, allowing him to navigate complex deals with confidence. The cultural influence Jay-Z wielded was undeniable, but he was careful to ensure that his business moves were grounded in sound strategy. He understood that relying solely on celebrity status would not suffice in the scrutinizing eyes of bankers and investors. Each venture needed to stand on its own merits, reflecting thoughtful planning and sustainable growth. As word of his business activities began to circulate, whispers of skepticism persisted. The banking world's doubt was not easily shaken. Entrenched biases and a history of underestimating non-traditional entrepreneurs created a persistent fog of disbelief. Yet, with each move, whether it was launching a new brand, acquiring stakes in emerging companies, or entering new markets, Jay-Z chipped away at these assumptions. His journey was emblematic of a larger shift occurring in the intersection of culture and commerce. Artists like Jay-Z were no longer content to be passive participants in the business world. They sought to reshape it, leveraging their platforms to create wealth and influence on their own terms. This movement challenged the very foundations of traditional financial institutions, forcing them to confront their preconceived notions. In this early chapter of his business evolution, Jay-Z's story was not just about individual ambition. It was about opening doors for others who had been similarly underestimated. His presence in boardrooms and investment meetings signaled a new era where cultural capital translated into economic power. The skepticism he faced was a reflection of old paradigms, slowly giving way to a future where diverse voices held sway. This narrative also sparked conversations within communities that had long viewed business success as an elusive dream. Jay-Z's trajectory offered a blueprint of possibility, illustrating that with vision, determination, and strategic partnerships, barriers could be overcome. His journey inspired entrepreneurs, especially those from marginalized backgrounds, to reimagine what success looked like and who could claim it. Behind the scenes, Jay-Z's demeanor was marked by a quiet confidence. He was aware of the stakes and the scrutiny, but he did not allow doubt to dictate his actions. Instead, he embraced the challenge as motivation, channeling skepticism into fuel for growth. Every meeting, every negotiation became an opportunity to demonstrate his depth of knowledge and commitment to excellence. The narrative surrounding Jay-Z began to shift subtly. Where once he was seen primarily as a music icon dabbling in business, he increasingly commanded respect as a strategic thinker and dealmaker. This evolution was gradual, marked by milestones that showcased his ability to move seamlessly between worlds that had traditionally been kept apart. In essence, Jay-Z embodied a new kind of leadership, one that blended cultural resonance with financial savvy. His ascent was not merely about accumulating wealth, but about transforming perceptions and expanding possibilities. The skepticism he encountered was a testament to the challenges faced by those who dared to redefine boundaries, but it also underscored the significance of his journey. As the music and finance worlds watched closely, Jay-Z's story unfolded as a powerful testament to resilience and vision. He was not only navigating the complexities of business but also challenging the systems that sought to limit who could participate in them. In doing so, he laid the groundwork for a narrative that celebrated the intersection of creativity and commerce, setting the stage for the chapters yet to come. The encounter with the prominent banker was a defining moment, one that encapsulated the broader skepticism Jay-Z faced from the financial establishment. It happened in a sleek, glass-walled boardroom nestled high above the city streets, where the hum of commerce never ceased and deals were brokered with calculated precision. The banker, a man whose tailored suit and measured demeanor exuded authority, regarded Jay-Z with a blend of curiosity and thinly veiled doubt. His tone was polite but carried an unmistakable edge of condescension, a subtle reminder of the gulf that separated their worlds. "You're a talented artist, no question," the banker began, his voice smooth but firm. "But business? That's a different language, complex, unforgiving. You might have the star power, but understanding the intricacies of finance, that's something else altogether. I'm not sure you truly grasp what it takes to succeed in this arena." The words settled heavily in the room. It wasn't just a critique of Jay-Z's knowledge. It was a dismissal of his potential, a preconceived judgment that artists did not belong in the corridors of high finance. The banker's skepticism was emblematic of a systemic bias, an entrenched narrative that positioned cultural figures as outsiders, incapable of mastering the technical and strategic demands of business leadership. Jay-Z listened carefully, his expression composed but his mind racing. The banker's condescension was a stark reminder of the barriers that extended beyond mere financial literacy, barriers rooted in perception, race, and the rigid structures of power. It was a microcosm of the challenges he faced every time he stepped into a room dominated by suits and spreadsheets rather than stages and studios. This interaction was not an isolated incident, but rather a reflection of a broader pattern. Financial institutions had long been gatekeepers, wielding influence over who could access capital and opportunity. For an artist venturing into this world, the path was fraught with skepticism that often manifested as subtle, dismissive attitudes rather than overt hostility. The message was clear. No matter the success or intellect, a rapper-turned-entrepreneur was not quite the kind of businessman they were accustomed to. Yet, beneath the banker's polished veneer lay a deeper unease. Jay-Z represented a shift, an expansion of the business landscape that challenged traditional hierarchies. His presence in the room disrupted comfortable assumptions about expertise and authority, forcing the establishment to confront its own limitations in recognizing new forms of leadership. This discomfort often translated into the patronizing attitudes he encountered, an attempt to reassert control in an evolving environment. For Jay-Z, the banker's dismissal was both a challenge and a catalyst. It crystallized the stakes of his journey, highlighting the need to not only prove his competence but to redefine what competence looked like in a world that had long excluded voices like his. The encounter underscored how deeply ingrained biases could shape access and influence, even in ostensibly objective fields like finance. The banker's skepticism also carried a personal sting. Jay-Z was no stranger to doubt. His rise from the streets of Brooklyn to global stardom had been punctuated by naysayers and obstacles. But this was different. This was a gatekeeping that sought to confine him to a narrow identity, denying the full scope of his ambitions. It was a reminder that success in one arena did not guarantee acceptance in another, especially one guarded by centuries-old institutions. In response, Jay-Z chose a path of quiet determination rather than confrontation. He recognized that dismantling these barriers required more than proving a point in a single conversation. It demanded a sustained effort to build credibility, to demonstrate through action that his vision for business was both viable and visionary. The banker's words became a motivator, fueling a resolve to transcend skepticism and reshape expectations. Behind closed doors, Jay-Z and his team began to strategize with renewed focus. They analyzed the banker's critique not as a setback but as insight into the mindset of the financial gatekeepers. Understanding their reservations was key to navigating the system effectively. It was clear that success would depend on mastering not only the mechanics of business but also the politics of perception. Jay-Z's approach was methodical. He sought out advisors and mentors who could bridge the gap between his cultural expertise and the technical knowledge required to operate at the highest levels of finance. This network became a vital resource, providing both guidance and validation in a world that often questioned his legitimacy. Each meeting, each negotiation was an opportunity to build trust and dismantle preconceived notions. The banker's skepticism also highlighted the importance of narrative in business. Jay-Z was acutely aware that his story, as a rapper, entrepreneur, and cultural icon, carried weight, but it was often overshadowed by stereotypes. Crafting a narrative that emphasized his strategic thinking and business acumen became essential in shifting perceptions. It was about controlling the narrative rather than allowing others to define it. This dynamic played out not only in boardrooms but also in media and public discourse. Headlines and commentary often oscillated between admiration for Jay-Z's success and doubt about his seriousness as a businessman. The banker's dismissive attitude mirrored a wider societal ambivalence toward artists entering corporate spaces, reflecting the tension between innovation and tradition. Yet, Jay-Z's response to this ambivalence was to lean into his dual identity. He refused to separate his artistry from his entrepreneurship, seeing them as interconnected facets of his vision. This holistic approach challenged the banking world's compartmentalization of roles and expertise, forcing a reevaluation of what it meant to be a business leader in a changing cultural landscape. The encounter with the banker also illuminated the racial dynamics inherent in the skepticism Jay-Z faced. As a black artist breaking into predominantly white financial circles, he confronted not only professional doubt but also the weight of systemic inequality. The banker's attitude was a subtle manifestation of these broader societal challenges, barriers constructed through centuries of exclusion and mistrust. Jay-Z's perseverance in the face of this skepticism was a testament to his resilience and strategic foresight. He understood that changing minds required more than individual success. It necessitated a shift in institutional attitudes and cultural narratives. His journey became emblematic of a broader movement toward inclusivity and recognition of diverse forms of expertise. In reflecting on the banker's dismissive words, Jay-Z recognized the opportunity embedded within the challenge. The skepticism was a call to action, urging him to elevate his game and demonstrate that business acumen transcended conventional backgrounds. It was an invitation to rewrite the rules and expand the definition of what a businessman could be. This moment, while fraught with tension, was a turning point. It crystallized the obstacles ahead but also clarified the path forward. Jay-Z's response, to persist, to learn, and to build strategically, set the foundation for the transformative moves that would soon follow. The banker's doubt, rather than deterring him, became a catalyst for his growing influence in the world of business. As the meeting concluded and Jay-Z exited the boardroom, the lingering air of skepticism remained, but so too did a quiet confidence. He was no longer merely a visitor in the world of finance. He was a challenger, poised to reshape the landscape with a blend of cultural insight and business savvy. The banker's words echoed as a reminder of the barriers yet to be broken, but also of the promise inherent in defying expectations. In that moment, Jay-Z's journey was emblematic of more than personal ambition. It was a narrative about redefining power, challenging exclusion, and forging new pathways where art and business converged. The banker's skepticism was but one hurdle in a much larger story, one that was only just beginning to unfold. The sting of the banker's dismissive words lingered long after Jay-Z left the glass-walled boardroom. Yet, beneath the surface of that moment lay a growing fire, a mix of frustration, resolve, and an unshakable belief in his vision. The condescension he faced was not unfamiliar, but it was sharper here, in the world of finance, where reputation and pedigree often overshadowed innovation and cultural relevance. For Jay-Z, this was a pivotal juncture, a call to not only respond but to transform the narrative surrounding his journey from artist to entrepreneur. In the quiet moments that followed, Jay-Z's mind churned with a potent blend of reflection and determination. He understood that proving his worth meant more than simply rebutting a single banker's skepticism. It required a sustained, strategic effort to demonstrate his business acumen in ways that could not be dismissed or diminished. The challenge was clear. He needed to transcend the superficial judgments often cast upon artists venturing into corporate realms and establish himself as a serious, savvy businessman. This resolve was not born out of ego but from a deep-seated commitment to redefine the boundaries of possibility for himself and those who shared his path. Jay-Z recognized that the skepticism he encountered was symptomatic of broader societal biases, barriers that sought to confine individuals to predefined roles and limit the scope of their ambitions. His mission expanded beyond personal success. It became a quest to dismantle these limiting perceptions and open doors for others. With this clarity, Jay-Z began to channel his frustration into focused action. He returned to his team with renewed vigor, emphasizing the importance of meticulous preparation, strategic partnerships, and comprehensive knowledge. The goal was to build a foundation so solid that it would leave no room for doubt. Every venture, every investment had to be backed by rigorous analysis and a clear vision for sustainable growth. Behind the scenes, Jay-Z immersed himself in the language of finance, eager to bridge the gap between intuition and technical expertise. He studied market trends, investment strategies, and corporate structures, supplementing his innate business instincts with formal knowledge. This dedication was a testament to his commitment, not merely to succeed but to excel on his own terms. His team expanded to include seasoned advisors and industry experts who could provide insights and guidance. These alliances were crucial, blending Jay-Z's cultural insight and entrepreneurial spirit with the hard data and experience necessary to navigate complex financial landscapes. Together, they crafted strategies that balanced innovation with prudence, creativity with discipline. This period of strategic preparation was also marked by a conscious effort to manage perception. Jay-Z understood that controlling the narrative around his business ventures was essential to shifting skepticism into respect. He embraced transparency, sharing his plans and insights with select media and stakeholders to highlight the depth of his understanding and the seriousness of his ambitions. The internal dialogue within Jay-Z was one of resilience and vision. He refused to allow doubt, whether external or internal, to derail his progress. Instead, he used it as a catalyst to sharpen his focus and refine his approach. The banker's words, once a source of frustration, transformed into a benchmark, a reminder of the standards he was determined to meet and exceed. This resolve extended beyond business mechanics. It touched on identity and legacy. Jay-Z was acutely aware that his journey was a symbol for many, representing the potential for artists and entrepreneurs from marginalized communities to break through systemic barriers. His success would not only redefine his own narrative but also inspire a broader reimagining of who could wield power and influence in the business world. As the weeks turned into months, Jay-Z's efforts began to coalesce into tangible progress. He engaged in discreet negotiations and exploratory discussions, each move calculated to build momentum and credibility. These behind-the-scenes maneuvers were marked by patience and precision, a testament to his evolving mastery of the business landscape. Throughout this process, Jay-Z maintained a balance between humility and confidence. He acknowledged the learning curve but remained unapologetically ambitious. This equilibrium resonated with his team and partners, fostering a collaborative environment where ideas could flourish and risks were managed thoughtfully. The transformation in Jay-Z's approach was not lost on those around him. Colleagues and advisors noted a deepened strategic mindset, a willingness to engage with complexity rather than shy away from it. This evolution was a clear departure from the dismissive attitudes he had encountered, signaling his readiness to operate at the highest levels of business. At the same time, Jay-Z remained grounded in his roots. He continued to draw inspiration from his experiences and cultural heritage, recognizing that these elements were not liabilities but assets in his entrepreneurial toolkit. His ability to connect with diverse audiences and understand emerging markets gave him a unique perspective that traditional financiers often lacked. This fusion of cultural insight and business acumen became a defining feature of Jay-Z's leadership style. It challenged conventional notions of expertise and authority, illustrating that success in business could be multifaceted and inclusive. His journey was reshaping expectations, demonstrating that innovation often emerges at the intersections of different worlds. Amid this evolution, Jay-Z also began to engage more openly with the narratives surrounding his endeavors. He participated in interviews and forums where he articulated his vision, addressing skepticism head-on by sharing the depth of his commitment and the rigor of his strategies. His voice added a new dimension to conversations about entrepreneurship, one that celebrated diversity and challenged monolithic definitions of business leadership. The impact of this shift was gradual but profound. As Jay-Z's reputation as a businessman grew, so too did the willingness of financiers and partners to engage with him on equal footing. The skepticism that had once greeted him gave way to cautious respect, opening doors that had previously been closed or only slightly ajar. Yet, Jay-Z remained mindful that the journey was far from complete. The initial doubts voiced by the banker, and echoed by many in the financial world, were reminders of the ongoing work required to dismantle systemic barriers. His resolve was not just to break through for himself but to create pathways for others to follow. In this period of transformation, Jay-Z's story became emblematic of a broader cultural shift. It highlighted the tensions between tradition and innovation, exclusion and inclusion, skepticism and belief. His response to doubt was a narrative of empowerment, illustrating how vision and perseverance could rewrite the rules of engagement. The banker's words, once a source of frustration, had become a catalyst for growth. Jay-Z's journey was no longer simply about proving a point. It was about embodying a new paradigm of leadership that embraced complexity, diversity, and authenticity. This evolution set the stage for the bold moves that would soon define his business legacy. As Jay-Z continued to navigate the intricate dance of finance and culture, his resolve remained unwavering. The path ahead was challenging, but the foundation he was building was strong. With each calculated step, he moved closer to not just meeting expectations, but transforming them, charting a course that would inspire generations to come. With resolve sharpening his focus, Jay-Z stepped into a new phase of his journey, one defined by strategic moves and quiet negotiations that would lay the groundwork for his entrance into high-stakes business. Gone were the days of reactive responses to skepticism. Now, every action was deliberate, meticulously planned, and executed with the precision of a seasoned executive. Behind the scenes, a sophisticated machinery of research, alliance building, and deal-making began to hum, revealing a methodical approach that contrasted starkly with the earlier dismissals he had encountered. Jay-Z knew that entering the complex world of finance required more than ambition. It demanded an acute understanding of market dynamics and a network capable of navigating the opaque corridors of power. To this end, he assembled a team that was as diverse as it was expert: financial analysts, legal advisors, real estate consultants, and investment strategists, all brought together to translate his vision into actionable strategies. This team became his inner circle, guiding him through intricate negotiations and ensuring that every move was informed by data and foresight. Their initial focus centered on identifying opportunities that aligned with Jay-Z's broader narrative, ventures that not only promised financial returns but also resonated culturally and strategically. This dual lens was crucial. Jay-Z was not interested in mere transactions. He sought investments that reflected his commitment to innovation and community impact. This ethos distinguished his approach from conventional investors, signaling a new paradigm in entrepreneurial strategy. Meticulous research underpinned every potential deal. Jay-Z and his team conducted in-depth analyses of market trends, assessing risks and forecasting growth with a rigor that challenged assumptions about his business acumen. They pored over financial reports, studied consumer behavior, and engaged with industry experts to build a comprehensive understanding of each opportunity. This diligence was both a shield and a sword, protecting against missteps while empowering confident decision-making. As negotiations commenced, discretion became paramount. Jay-Z was acutely aware that premature exposure could invite renewed skepticism or undermine leverage. Thus, much of the dialogue unfolded behind closed doors, away from the glare of media scrutiny. These quiet discussions involved navigating complex contractual terms, evaluating partnership structures, and balancing competing interests, all in pursuit of deals that would solidify his position in the business world. Throughout these negotiations, Jay-Z's leadership was characterized by a blend of cultural intuition and strategic pragmatism. His unique ability to anticipate market shifts, informed by his deep connection to emerging trends and communities, provided an edge that traditional financiers often lacked. Yet, he tempered this intuition with a disciplined approach to due diligence, ensuring that decisions were grounded in financial realities. This balance resonated within his team, fostering a collaborative environment where innovation met discipline. Advisors who had once viewed Jay-Z's ambitions with skepticism now found themselves impressed by the depth of his engagement and the clarity of his vision. His willingness to listen, learn, and adapt signaled a maturity that transcended stereotypes and challenged preconceived notions. The negotiations also highlighted the subtle power dynamics at play. Jay-Z navigated these with a keen awareness of the historical context, understanding that as an outsider to traditional finance, he needed to assert his position without alienating potential partners. His approach was strategic diplomacy, combining firmness with respect, and always anchored by thorough preparation. Amid these behind-the-scenes maneuvers, Jay-Z maintained a steady public presence, carefully calibrating his messaging to reinforce his evolving identity as a businessman. He engaged selectively with media outlets, sharing insights that underscored his commitment to growth and innovation. This narrative control was essential in shifting public perception, moving from the image of a celebrity dabbling in business to that of a serious entrepreneur shaping new markets. One of the most significant aspects of this phase was Jay-Z's emphasis on building long-term relationships. He recognized that sustainable success depended not just on individual deals but on networks of trust and mutual benefit. This perspective informed his approach to partnerships, where alignment of values and vision took precedence alongside financial considerations. As negotiations progressed, Jay-Z's confidence grew. Each successful discussion reinforced his belief in the viability of his strategy and the strength of his team. The early skepticism he had faced seemed increasingly distant, replaced by a growing recognition of his capabilities among key stakeholders. This shift was subtle but profound, signaling the beginning of a transformation in how he was perceived within the business community. The strategic moves also reflected Jay-Z's broader understanding of the interplay between culture and commerce. He saw opportunities where others saw risk, recognizing that cultural relevance could drive economic value in ways that traditional metrics often overlooked. This insight allowed him to pioneer investments that bridged gaps between markets and demographics, positioning him at the forefront of emerging trends. Throughout this period, Jay-Z remained mindful of the lessons from his earlier encounters. The banker's dismissive tone was a reminder of the ongoing challenges in breaking down entrenched biases. However, rather than fueling resentment, it inspired a commitment to excellence and professionalism that would speak louder than words. Jay-Z's approach to these negotiations was also informed by a recognition of legacy. He was building not just for immediate gains but for enduring impact. This mindset influenced the choices he made, favoring ventures that aligned with his values and had the potential to reshape industries. His vision extended beyond personal success to encompass broader social and economic change. The quiet negotiations unfolded as a dance of strategy and patience. Jay-Z understood that timing was critical, knowing when to push forward, when to hold back, and when to pivot. This tactical acumen was a departure from the impulsiveness often attributed to celebrity entrepreneurs, signaling a deepening mastery of business dynamics. As deals began to take shape, the narrative around Jay-Z's business activities started to shift. Industry insiders took note of his growing portfolio and the sophistication of his approach. This evolving perception opened doors to new opportunities and partnerships, expanding his influence and reach. Behind the scenes, Jay-Z continued to refine his strategies, learning from each negotiation and adapting to the evolving landscape. This iterative process underscored the dynamic nature of his journey, marked by continuous growth and reinvention. The strategic foundation laid during this period would prove critical in the chapters that followed. Jay-Z's methodical approach to building his business empire challenged the stereotypes that had once constrained him, offering a blueprint for others seeking to navigate the intersection of culture and commerce. With each calculated move and discreet negotiation, Jay-Z was not just acquiring assets. He was reshaping the narrative of what it meant to be a businessman in the modern era. His journey illuminated the power of vision combined with strategy, and the transformative potential of perseverance in the face of doubt. As whispers of Jay-Z's burgeoning business ventures began to circulate, the initial ripple of skepticism within the financial world swelled into a more vocal undercurrent of disbelief. The banker's dismissive attitude, once confined to closed boardrooms, now echoed through the corridors of power, reflecting entrenched biases that were slow to yield. Within these circles, Jay-Z was often viewed through a prism colored by doubt, a talented artist stepping into the world of finance, but not yet fully embraced as a legitimate player in the high-stakes game of business. This persistent skepticism was not simply a matter of unfamiliarity. It was deeply rooted in systemic inertia. Traditional financiers, conditioned by decades of precedent and guarded by networks that prized pedigree and convention, found it difficult to reconcile Jay-Z's unconventional background with their expectations of what a successful businessman should embody. Their doubt manifested in subtle ways, questioning his seriousness, minimizing his strategic insights, or doubting the sustainability of his ventures. News of Jay-Z's activities sparked quiet conversations among bankers, investors, and industry insiders, discussions tinged with disbelief and cautious curiosity. Some regarded his moves as celebrity vanity projects, others as fleeting experiments lacking the rigor necessary for lasting impact. This tension underscored a broader cultural fault line, where the intersection of art and commerce was still a contested space, fraught with misunderstandings and competing narratives. The skepticism also highlighted the challenges faced by entrepreneurs who, like Jay-Z, defied traditional molds. His story disrupted established hierarchies and called into question the very criteria by which business acumen was judged. This disruption was unsettling to many, provoking defensive reactions aimed at preserving the status quo. Within these financial circles, the banker who had once dismissed Jay-Z's business understanding found his doubts echoed and amplified. Colleagues who had not yet encountered Jay-Z directly repeated the skepticism, creating an echo chamber that reinforced existing prejudices. This environment made it difficult for new narratives to take hold, perpetuating a cycle of disbelief that Jay-Z was determined to break. Yet, beneath the surface of this skepticism, there were undercurrents of intrigue. Jay-Z's strategic approach, cultural insight, and growing portfolio piqued the interest of those attuned to emerging trends and new market dynamics. A few forward-thinking financiers recognized that his unique blend of cultural capital and business savvy represented a shift in the entrepreneurial landscape, an opportunity rather than a threat. Despite this quiet acknowledgement, the dominant narrative remained one of doubt. Jay-Z's ventures were scrutinized intensely, with his every move dissected for signs of weakness or misstep. The pressure to perform was immense, compounded by the weight of representing not just himself but a broader movement challenging traditional business paradigms. In response to this environment, Jay-Z and his team adopted a strategy of measured transparency. They allowed select successes to enter the public domain, carefully curated to showcase the viability and growth of his enterprises. This approach sought to chip away at skepticism by providing tangible evidence of competence and foresight. However, the banking world's disbelief was not easily swayed by isolated victories. It was rooted in a deeper reluctance to embrace change and diversify the profiles of those deemed credible. This inertia underscored the systemic barriers that persisted in finance, where access and acceptance were often reserved for a narrow demographic. Jay-Z's growing presence in these circles was a challenge to these entrenched norms. His rise forced financiers to confront their own assumptions and the limitations of conventional wisdom. This confrontation was uncomfortable but necessary, a reckoning with the evolving realities of a global economy increasingly shaped by diverse voices and innovative approaches. The tension between skepticism and intrigue created a dynamic landscape. On one hand, Jay-Z faced persistent doubt and resistance. On the other, he was slowly carving out space for new possibilities. This duality underscored the complexity of his journey, a path marked by both obstacles and openings. Within this context, Jay-Z's interactions with the banking establishment became a microcosm of broader societal shifts. His efforts to gain legitimacy and respect mirrored the struggles of many entrepreneurs from marginalized backgrounds seeking to redefine power structures. The banker's dismissal was emblematic of these challenges. But so too was Jay-Z's perseverance. As rumors of his business dealings spread, they also began to capture the attention of media and public audiences. Coverage oscillated between skepticism and admiration, reflecting the ambivalence with which society often regards figures who cross traditional boundaries. This discourse contributed to shaping Jay-Z's evolving public image as both a cultural icon and a serious business mind. The banker's continued disbelief served as a reminder of the distance yet to be traveled. It underscored the ongoing need for Jay-Z to demonstrate not only financial success but also strategic depth and leadership. This pressure was a driving force behind his meticulous approach to business growth and partnership development. In boardrooms and investment meetings, Jay-Z's reputation was still in flux. Some viewed him as a disruptor with fresh perspectives, while others regarded him with suspicion, unsure how to categorize his unconventional trajectory. Navigating this ambivalence required skillful diplomacy and unwavering confidence. Jay-Z's response to this skepticism was multifaceted. He remained focused on building a portfolio that spoke for itself, allowing results to challenge doubts more effectively than any argument could. Simultaneously, he cultivated relationships with key influencers willing to look beyond stereotypes and recognize his potential. This strategy began to bear fruit. As Jay-Z's business acumen became increasingly evident, pockets of support emerged within the financial community. These allies provided crucial endorsements and opened doors that had previously been closed. Their backing lent credibility and momentum to his ventures. Yet, the broader banking world remained cautious. The legacy of doubt persisted, fueled by a reluctance to embrace new paradigms and the comfort of familiar hierarchies. Jay-Z's ascent was a slow and deliberate process, requiring patience and resilience. This ongoing skepticism also catalyzed conversations about diversity and inclusion within finance. Jay-Z's presence highlighted the need for institutions to evolve and adapt to a changing economic landscape where innovation often springs from unexpected sources. His journey became a case study in the challenges and opportunities of broadening access to capital and leadership. Within this evolving discourse, the narrative surrounding Jay-Z's business endeavors began to shift incrementally. Success stories, strategic acquisitions, and savvy partnerships gradually softened the tone of skepticism, replacing it with cautious optimism. The banker's earlier doubts, once emblematic of widespread disbelief, faced mounting evidence to the contrary. Despite this progress, Jay-Z remained cognizant of the work ahead. The skepticism he encountered was not merely personal but systemic, reflecting deep-rooted challenges in the structures that govern business and finance. His journey was as much about transforming these systems as it was about individual achievement. In this landscape of tension and transformation, Jay-Z's story illuminated the complexities of breaking new ground. It showcased the interplay between doubt and determination, tradition and innovation, exclusion and inclusion. The banker's disbelief was a chapter in a larger narrative, a story of perseverance, strategy, and the relentless pursuit of legitimacy in a world resistant to change. Amid the undercurrent of skepticism that swirled through the financial world, Jay-Z's vision began to take a more tangible form. Central to his evolving strategy was a decisive move that would signal his serious intent to the industry, a strategic acquisition that went beyond mere symbolism to embody his growing command of business. The decision to purchase a significant building was not taken lightly. It represented both a bold statement and a calculated investment, a physical manifestation of his entry into high-stakes real estate and a broader assertion of his business acumen. The building itself was more than just a structure of bricks and mortar. Situated in a prime location, it symbolized opportunity, influence, and legacy. For Jay-Z, acquiring this asset was about more than expanding his portfolio. It was about staking a claim in a domain traditionally dominated by seasoned financiers and real estate moguls. This move challenged the lingering doubts about his capacity to operate at that level, confronting skeptics with concrete evidence of his strategic vision. The motivations behind this acquisition were multifaceted. Financially, the building promised strong returns and long-term value appreciation, aligning with Jay-Z's emphasis on sustainable growth. Strategically, it offered a platform from which to launch further ventures, serving as both an investment and a hub for his expanding business empire. Culturally, it represented a break from convention, an artist leveraging his influence to command assets typically out of reach for those outside established business circles. Bringing this deal to fruition was a complex endeavor. The challenges were numerous, ranging from navigating the intricate legal and financial frameworks of real estate transactions to managing negotiations with incumbent owners and stakeholders. Jay-Z's team applied the rigorous research and strategic planning that had become their hallmark, ensuring that every aspect of the deal was meticulously evaluated. Negotiations required patience and finesse. The process involved balancing competing interests, assessing risks, and structuring terms that would safeguard Jay-Z's investment while positioning him for future growth. His ability to navigate these complexities demonstrated a depth of understanding that belied earlier doubts about his business savvy. Throughout the negotiation phase, Jay-Z's leadership was on full display. He engaged directly with key players, articulating his vision and underscoring his commitment to the project. This hands-on approach reinforced his role not merely as a passive investor but as an active and informed decision-maker, a stark contrast to the dismissive attitudes he had encountered. The acquisition also demanded a keen awareness of timing and market conditions. Jay-Z and his advisors monitored economic indicators, real estate trends, and competitive landscapes to identify the optimal moment to act. This strategic patience was critical in securing favorable terms and maximizing the potential of the investment. As the deal progressed, the significance of the building grew beyond its immediate financial implications. It became a symbol of possibility, illustrating how barriers could be overcome through vision, preparation, and determination. For Jay-Z, owning this asset was a testament to his evolving identity as a businessman, one capable of commanding respect in arenas once considered inaccessible. The announcement of the acquisition sent ripples through both the business and cultural worlds. Media outlets seized upon the story, framing it as a milestone that challenged stereotypes and expanded narratives about what artists could achieve in the realm of finance. Jay-Z's move was portrayed as a watershed moment, signaling a shift in the balance of power and influence. Within the financial community, reactions were mixed but largely marked by a newfound respect. The acquisition forced skeptics to reassess their assumptions, confronting them with tangible evidence of Jay-Z's strategic prowess. It disrupted the narrative of doubt, replacing it with recognition of his capacity to execute complex deals and manage significant assets. The building itself began to serve as a platform for further initiatives. Jay-Z envisioned it as more than an investment. It was a cornerstone for community engagement, cultural programming, and entrepreneurial ventures that aligned with his broader mission. This holistic approach underscored the integration of business and social impact that defined his leadership style. Managing the building also presented new challenges and learning opportunities. Jay-Z and his team navigated property management, tenant relations, and regulatory compliance, expanding their expertise and strengthening their operational capabilities. These experiences deepened their understanding of real estate as a dynamic and multifaceted sector, reinforcing the importance of adaptability and strategic foresight. The acquisition also had a ripple effect on Jay-Z's broader business portfolio. It enhanced his credibility among investors and partners, opening doors to new collaborations and ventures. The success of this deal provided a foundation upon which future growth could be built, signaling to the market that Jay-Z was a formidable player in the business landscape. This move also inspired others within and beyond the entertainment industry. Jay-Z's ability to translate cultural capital into tangible assets challenged prevailing notions of entrepreneurship and wealth building. His journey became a blueprint for artists and entrepreneurs seeking to leverage their platforms for lasting economic impact. At the same time, the acquisition highlighted the ongoing challenges of navigating spaces historically resistant to change. Jay-Z remained mindful of the systemic barriers that persisted, recognizing that his success was both a personal achievement and part of a larger struggle for equity and inclusion in business. Throughout the process, Jay-Z's approach was characterized by a blend of confidence and humility. He celebrated the milestone but remained focused on the work ahead, understanding that this acquisition was a step, not the destination, in his evolving business journey. His vision encompassed not only financial success but also the transformation of industries and communities. The acquisition also underscored the importance of narrative control. Jay-Z leveraged media and public relations strategically, framing the deal within the context of innovation, leadership, and social responsibility. This storytelling reinforced his evolving image and helped to shift public perception in meaningful ways. As the deal closed and ownership transferred, Jay-Z's triumph was palpable, not simply in the acquisition itself but in the broader implications it carried. This moment marked a turning point, a clear signal that he was not just an artist dabbling in business, but a savvy entrepreneur reshaping the landscape. The building stood as a tangible testament to Jay-Z's strategic vision, resilience, and capacity to transcend skepticism. It embodied the convergence of cultural influence and financial acumen, illustrating how new paradigms of leadership were emerging in the 21st century. In claiming this space, Jay-Z challenged the assumptions that had once limited him, demonstrating that with preparation, insight, and determination, barriers could be dismantled and new legacies forged. This acquisition was more than a transaction. It was a declaration of intent and a beacon for those who aspired to redefine success on their own terms. The day Jay-Z finalized the purchase of the building marked a pivotal moment, not only in his business journey but in the broader narrative of his evolving identity. As the ink dried on the contracts, the irony was unmistakable. The very asset that had once symbolized the banker's doubt was now firmly in Jay-Z's possession. This moment was more than a transaction. It was a reversal of fortune and a powerful statement that challenged the skepticism that had shadowed his path. The closing process was the culmination of months of meticulous negotiation, strategic planning, and behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Jay-Z's presence in the room was far from symbolic. It reflected his active engagement and command over the complex details that such a deal entailed. This was not the work of a passive investor but of a determined visionary who had mastered the intricacies of high-stakes business. As the final signatures were applied, a wave of satisfaction swept through Jay-Z and his team. The acquisition was a tangible validation of their efforts and a concrete answer to the doubts that had been voiced by the banker and others. It was a moment that encapsulated the power of perseverance, strategy, and self-belief. News of the purchase spread quickly, reverberating through both financial and cultural spheres. The irony was not lost on observers. The man once dismissed as lacking the understanding to succeed in business had now secured a major real estate asset that many seasoned investors coveted. This narrative twist captured imaginations and shifted conversations. For Jay-Z, the acquisition was a milestone that transcended personal achievement. It symbolized a broader challenge to entrenched perceptions about who could participate in and succeed at the highest levels of business. By claiming ownership of the building, he was claiming space not just physically but metaphorically, redefining the boundaries of opportunity. The moment also carried a sense of vindication. The banker's earlier dismissal, once a source of frustration, now served as a backdrop against which Jay-Z's triumph was illuminated. This reversal underscored the limitations of skepticism rooted in preconceived notions and highlighted the transformative potential of vision paired with action. Within business circles, the acquisition prompted a reassessment of Jay-Z's capabilities. The deal was more than symbolic. It was a demonstration of his ability to navigate complex financial landscapes and execute at a level that demanded respect. This shift in perception began to open doors that had previously been closed or only partially ajar. The media coverage that followed was multifaceted. Headlines celebrated the purchase as a sign of Jay-Z's expanding empire, emphasizing his strategic acumen and entrepreneurial spirit. Commentators noted the significance of an artist transcending traditional boundaries to become a serious business force, challenging stereotypes and inspiring others. Yet, Jay-Z approached this newfound recognition with measured humility. He understood that while the acquisition was a landmark, it was part of a larger, ongoing journey. The building was a foundation, a starting point for further growth and impact, not an endpoint. His focus remained on leveraging this asset to catalyze additional ventures and community initiatives. Internally, the acquisition energized Jay-Z's team. It validated their strategic approach and reinforced the importance of meticulous preparation and collaboration. The success of the deal galvanized their efforts, setting a new standard for what could be achieved through combined expertise and vision. The acquisition also had immediate practical implications. Owning the building opened avenues for revenue generation, partnership development, and brand expansion. Jay-Z envisioned the property as a hub for innovative projects that aligned with his broader mission of blending culture, commerce, and social impact. This vision extended beyond financial returns to encompass community engagement and empowerment. Jay-Z's plans included initiatives that would leverage the building's space to support emerging entrepreneurs, cultural programming, and philanthropic efforts. In this way, the acquisition became a tool for both economic and social transformation. The deal's completion also marked a turning point in Jay-Z's relationship with the banking world. The earlier skepticism gave way to a more cautious respect, as financiers recognized his growing influence and competence. While barriers remained, the acquisition signaled a shift in the dialogue, one that acknowledged Jay-Z as a player to be reckoned with. This shift was not merely about perception but about power dynamics. By securing ownership of a significant asset, Jay-Z disrupted traditional hierarchies and asserted his presence in a space that had historically excluded individuals like him. This assertion was both personal and political, challenging systemic norms and expanding possibilities. The banker who had once doubted him became a symbol in this narrative, a reminder of the obstacles overcome and the transformative power of determination. Jay-Z's triumph was a testament to the idea that skepticism, while formidable, could be surmounted through strategy, knowledge, and resilience. As the building settled into Jay-Z's portfolio, it became a beacon of potential. It embodied the convergence of culture and commerce, illustrating how new paradigms of leadership were emerging. The acquisition was a physical manifestation of a broader shift, one where artists, entrepreneurs, and visionaries blurred traditional boundaries to redefine success. This moment also inspired a generation watching from the sidelines. Jay-Z's journey from doubt to ownership encouraged others to challenge limiting narratives and pursue their ambitions with tenacity. His story became a blueprint for navigating skepticism and seizing opportunity in the face of doubt. In the aftermath of the purchase, Jay-Z maintained his focus on growth and impact. The building was the first of many steps toward building an empire that was as innovative as it was influential. His leadership style, rooted in authenticity, collaboration, and strategic foresight, continued to guide his ventures. The reversal embodied in this acquisition was a powerful narrative arc. From being underestimated and dismissed to owning the very asset that symbolized that doubt, Jay-Z rewrote the story of his business journey. This chapter stood as a testament to the transformative potential of perseverance and vision. As the dust settled, the acquisition's implications rippled outward. It challenged financiers, cultural commentators, and aspiring entrepreneurs alike to reconsider what was possible. Jay-Z's triumph was not just a personal victory. It was a catalyst for change in how business success was defined and who could claim it. In this evolving landscape, the building stood as a monument to breaking barriers, a physical and symbolic marker of Jay-Z's ascent. The moment of purchase was a turning point that set the stage for the next phase of his journey, one characterized by continued innovation, influence, and impact. The news of Jay-Z's acquisition reverberated far beyond the closed doors of boardrooms and the pages of financial reports. Media outlets, cultural commentators, and the public at large seized upon the story, weaving it into a larger narrative of transformation and challenge. The coverage marked a turning point, not only in how Jay-Z was perceived but in how society at large grappled with the evolving relationship between celebrity, business, and cultural influence. Journalists who had once treated his business ventures with skepticism now found themselves revising their narratives. Profiles highlighted the strategic depth behind the acquisition, exploring the calculated moves and deliberate vision that had brought Jay-Z from the recording studio to real estate ownership. Headlines shifted from questioning his legitimacy to celebrating his savvy, framing the deal as a milestone that transcended individual success. The media's focus extended beyond the transaction itself to the stories embedded within. The dismantling of stereotypes, the breaking of glass ceilings, and the redefinition of what it meant to be a businessman in the modern era. Jay-Z's journey became emblematic of a broader cultural shift, where boundaries between art and commerce blurred, and new forms of leadership emerged. This evolution in coverage humanized the narrative as well. Reporters delved into the personal stories behind the headlines, the years of preparation, the setbacks faced, and the resilience required to navigate a world often resistant to change. These stories resonated deeply, offering a nuanced portrait of an entrepreneur whose identity was intertwined with culture, community, and ambition. Public reaction mirrored this complexity. Conversations erupted across social media platforms, community forums, and professional networks, reflecting a mixture of admiration, inspiration, and renewed debate. Jay-Z's acquisition sparked discussions about access, equity, and the power dynamics within business and finance, prompting many to reconsider preconceived notions about who could succeed and how. Within these dialogues, Jay-Z emerged not just as a figure of wealth but as a symbol of possibility. His journey inspired entrepreneurs, especially those from marginalized backgrounds, to envision new pathways to success. The narrative shifted from one of skepticism to one of hope and empowerment, illustrating the impact of representation and leadership. Cultural institutions and business organizations took notice as well. Conferences and panels began to feature Jay-Z's story as a case study in innovative entrepreneurship and strategic vision. His acquisition was cited as evidence of changing tides, where traditional barriers were being challenged by new actors bringing fresh perspectives and approaches. Media coverage also contributed to a reevaluation of the intersections between celebrity and business. Jay-Z's ability to leverage his cultural capital into tangible assets challenged assumptions that fame and financial acumen were mutually exclusive. This shift encouraged a broader acceptance of diverse entrepreneurial models that integrated creativity and commerce. At the same time, the coverage did not shy away from the complexities and challenges that remained. Commentators acknowledged the systemic barriers that persisted and the ongoing work required to create truly inclusive economic ecosystems. Jay-Z's acquisition was framed as a landmark achievement but also as a step within a larger journey toward equity and transformation. This balanced portrayal enriched public discourse, fostering a more informed and empathetic understanding of the dynamics at play. It highlighted the interplay between individual agency and structural change, emphasizing that progress involved both personal determination and collective effort. The media's evolving focus also had practical implications. Increased visibility attracted potential partners, investors, and collaborators who were drawn to Jay-Z's vision and proven track record. This network expansion facilitated new opportunities and ventures, amplifying his influence within and beyond the traditional boundaries of business. Moreover, the human interest elements of the coverage strengthened Jay-Z's connection with audiences. Stories of his roots, his commitment to community upliftment, and his dedication to strategic growth resonated deeply, reinforcing his authenticity and leadership. This narrative authenticity became a valuable asset in building trust and credibility. The public's engagement with Jay-Z's story also fueled conversations about wealth creation and social responsibility. His acquisition was seen as a model for leveraging economic power to effect positive change, inspiring discussions about how business success could be harnessed for broader societal impact. In educational settings, Jay-Z's journey began to feature in curricula exploring entrepreneurship, cultural studies, and leadership. His example provided students with a real-world illustration of how vision, resilience, and strategic thinking could overcome barriers and redefine traditional paradigms. This ripple effect extended into policy discussions as well. Policymakers and advocates cited Jay-Z's accomplishments when arguing for reforms to increase access to capital and support diverse entrepreneurs. His story underscored the importance of creating environments where innovation and inclusivity were prioritized. Within the cultural sphere, Jay-Z's acquisition sparked renewed interest in the role of artists as economic agents. Conversations about the responsibilities and opportunities of cultural figures expanded, encouraging others to consider how they might leverage their platforms for lasting impact beyond their primary fields. The media's evolving portrayal of Jay-Z also influenced how future stories about artist entrepreneurs were framed. His success set a precedent that challenged simplistic or dismissive narratives, encouraging more nuanced and respectful coverage of those navigating multiple domains. This shift in narrative contributed to a broader cultural recalibration, where entrepreneurship was increasingly viewed through a lens that valued diversity, creativity, and innovation. Jay-Z's acquisition became a touchstone in this transformation, a symbol of the possibilities unlocked when barriers were challenged and new paths forged. As the media spotlight continued, Jay-Z remained deliberate in managing his public image. He leveraged interviews, public appearances, and social media to articulate his vision and values, reinforcing the themes of strategic growth, community engagement, and cultural leadership. This proactive communication helped sustain momentum and deepen public understanding. The evolving media landscape also allowed for more direct engagement with audiences. Jay-Z's ability to speak in his own voice, unmediated by traditional gatekeepers, facilitated authentic connections and reinforced his narrative on his own terms. In this dynamic environment, the story of Jay-Z's acquisition transcended the specifics of the deal. It became a narrative about transformation of self, industry, and society. The media's role in shaping this story was pivotal, amplifying its impact and fostering conversations that extended well beyond the initial headlines. Ultimately, the public and media reaction to Jay-Z's acquisition reflected a moment of cultural reckoning. It challenged entrenched assumptions, celebrated innovation, and inspired a reimagining of what business leadership could look like in the modern era. Jay-Z's journey, captured and conveyed through these narratives, offered a powerful testament to the evolving landscape of entrepreneurship and influence. The acquisition of the building marked a significant turning point in Jay-Z's business trajectory, solidifying his reputation as a savvy entrepreneur and expanding the scope of his influence. No longer confined to the realm of music or celebrity ventures, he was now recognized as a formidable player in the business world, capable of managing complex assets and orchestrating high-stakes deals. This milestone opened doors to new opportunities and partnerships that would further diversify and strengthen his portfolio. The tangible success of the acquisition functioned as a powerful endorsement of Jay-Z's strategic acumen. Investors, financial institutions, and potential collaborators began to approach him with renewed interest and respect, recognizing the depth of his vision and the rigor of his approach. This shift in perception was critical, breaking down barriers that had previously limited his access to capital and strategic networks. Jay-Z's expanding business legacy was characterized by a deliberate blending of culture and commerce. He leveraged his unique position at the intersection of these spheres to identify emerging markets and innovative ventures that resonated with diverse audiences. This ability to anticipate trends and align investments with cultural currents distinguished him from traditional businessmen and positioned him as a leader in modern entrepreneurship. The acquisition also served as a foundation for scaling his business ventures. With a significant asset under his control, Jay-Z was able to leverage the building's value to secure financing for additional projects. This cascading effect accelerated the growth of his enterprise, enabling him to pursue ventures across industries such as technology, fashion, entertainment, and real estate development. Partnerships formed in the wake of the acquisition were strategic and multifaceted. Jay-Z aligned himself with industry experts, institutional investors, and emerging entrepreneurs, creating a network that combined expertise, capital, and innovation. These alliances amplified his reach and impact, fostering collaborative projects that benefited from shared resources and diverse perspectives. Moreover, Jay-Z's business activities began to reflect a commitment to social impact and community development. The building acquisition was not merely a financial transaction. It was integrated into a broader mission to support economic empowerment and cultural vitality. Initiatives launched from the building's platform included programs for small business incubation, arts and cultural events, and educational outreach, exemplifying how business success could translate into social value. This holistic approach to entrepreneurship enhanced Jay-Z's reputation as a visionary leader. He was seen as someone who transcended the traditional metrics of wealth accumulation to embrace a model of leadership that prioritized sustainability, inclusivity, and cultural relevance. This perspective resonated with a new generation of entrepreneurs and investors seeking purpose-driven business models. The credibility gained from the acquisition also facilitated Jay-Z's entry into new sectors. His proven track record attracted attention from venture capitalists, corporate boards, and philanthropic organizations, expanding his influence beyond real estate into areas such as tech startups, media enterprises, and impact investing. This diversification further cemented his status as a multifaceted business leader. Jay-Z's ability to navigate these varied domains was a testament to his adaptability and continuous learning. He balanced hands-on involvement with delegation to experts, maintaining strategic oversight while empowering his teams. This leadership style fostered innovation and operational excellence, enabling his ventures to thrive in competitive markets. The acquisition's role in shaping Jay-Z's legacy extended to its symbolic power. It challenged prevailing narratives about who could succeed in business, particularly for artists and entrepreneurs from underrepresented backgrounds. By demonstrating that cultural influence and financial savvy could coexist, Jay-Z redefined the archetype of the modern businessman. This redefinition had ripple effects throughout industries. Jay-Z became a sought-after advisor and collaborator, invited to participate in discussions about diversity, entrepreneurship, and economic inclusion. His voice carried weight in forums ranging from corporate boardrooms to policy conferences, influencing conversations about the future of business and leadership. The acquisition's success also reinforced the importance of strategic narrative management. Jay-Z's team effectively communicated the story of the deal and its broader significance, shaping public perception and building brand equity. This storytelling was integral to establishing trust and credibility with stakeholders across sectors. As Jay-Z's business empire expanded, so too did his philanthropic initiatives. The resources and networks generated through his ventures enabled him to support causes aligned with his values, including education, social justice, and community development. This integration of profit and purpose became a hallmark of his legacy. The acquisition's impact on Jay-Z's personal brand was profound. It positioned him as a role model for aspiring entrepreneurs and cultural leaders, exemplifying how determination, vision, and strategic execution could overcome skepticism and reshape industries. His story inspired countless individuals to pursue their ambitions with confidence and resilience. Furthermore, the acquisition catalyzed a broader cultural shift in the perception of artist entrepreneurs. Jay-Z's success challenged stereotypes and expanded the understanding of business leadership to include diverse experiences and perspectives. This shift contributed to a more inclusive and dynamic entrepreneurial ecosystem. In the years following the acquisition, Jay-Z continued to build upon this foundation, pursuing ventures that reflected his evolving vision and commitment to impact. Each new project reinforced his reputation as a trailblazer, blending innovation with cultural authenticity. The acquisition thus stands as a cornerstone in Jay-Z's business legacy, a milestone that not only validated his capabilities but also set the stage for ongoing growth and influence. It exemplified how strategic investments, when coupled with vision and resilience, could transform both individual trajectories and broader economic landscapes. Through this journey, Jay-Z demonstrated that success in business is multifaceted, encompassing financial performance, cultural resonance, and social responsibility. His legacy, anchored by the acquisition, continues to inspire and shape the future of entrepreneurship, challenging others to redefine success on their own terms. Jay-Z's journey from skepticism to ownership transcended the contours of a personal success story. It became a cultural landmark, a narrative that reshaped how society perceived the intersection of artistry, entrepreneurship, and power. The building he acquired was more than an asset. It was a symbol of transformation, a physical testament to the dismantling of barriers that had long constrained who could access and wield economic influence. This story, woven with threads of perseverance and vision, inspired countless others to challenge preconceived notions and redefine success on their own terms. From the outset, Jay-Z's path was marked by encounters that tested his resolve. The dismissive banker, emblematic of a broader skepticism within the financial sector, voiced a doubt that echoed societal biases and institutional gatekeeping. Yet, rather than capitulating to these barriers, Jay-Z harnessed the challenge as a catalyst, channeling frustration into strategic action. His journey illuminated the power of resilience in the face of systemic doubt, a lesson resonant far beyond the realm of business. The acquisition of the building stood as a watershed moment, signaling a shift not only in Jay-Z's trajectory but in the broader economic and cultural landscape. It challenged the conventional wisdom that often segregated cultural influence from financial legitimacy, demonstrating that one could command both with equal authority. This fusion of identities disrupted traditional hierarchies and expanded the definition of leadership in the 21st century. Jay-Z's evolution into a respected businessman illustrated the potency of vision combined with meticulous execution. His approach blended cultural intuition with rigorous strategy, bridging worlds that had historically been siloed. This duality became a model for a new kind of entrepreneurship, one that values authenticity alongside profitability and innovation alongside legacy. The ripple effects of his journey extended into communities long marginalized from centers of economic power. By breaking through barriers, Jay-Z not only carved out space for himself, but also paved pathways for others to follow. His success became a beacon, illuminating possibilities for artists, entrepreneurs, and visionaries who had been excluded by entrenched structures. This cultural legacy was intertwined with a commitment to social impact. Jay-Z's ventures often reflected an ethos that transcended personal gain, emphasizing community upliftment and empowerment. The building acquisition was emblematic of this philosophy, a strategic investment that also served as a platform for initiatives fostering economic opportunity and cultural vitality. Media and public discourse evolved alongside Jay-Z's business ascent. The narrative shifted from skepticism to admiration, from doubt to inspiration. His story challenged stereotypes and invited society to reconsider assumptions about who could lead and innovate. This transformation in perception was as significant as the financial milestones themselves. The journey also sparked broader conversations about access, equity, and the democratization of wealth. Jay-Z's experiences highlighted systemic challenges while illustrating the potential for change through perseverance and strategic vision. His story became a touchstone in dialogues about diversity in entrepreneurship and the reshaping of economic ecosystems. Within the entertainment industry and beyond, Jay-Z's legacy redefined the role of the artist. No longer confined to creative expression alone, artists were increasingly viewed as multifaceted leaders capable of influencing markets, policy, and culture. This shift expanded opportunities and encouraged a new generation to envision diverse avenues of impact. Jay-Z's leadership style, marked by authenticity, collaboration, and strategic foresight, served as a blueprint for those navigating complex intersections of culture and commerce. His ability to honor his roots while embracing innovation exemplified a balanced and inclusive approach to success. The building that once symbolized doubt now stood as a monument to possibility. It embodied the convergence of past challenges and future aspirations, a tangible reminder that transformation is achievable when vision is paired with determination. This asset was both a personal victory and a collective symbol of progress. Jay-Z's story underscored the importance of narrative control in shaping legacy. By articulating his journey on his own terms, he reclaimed agency over how success was defined and communicated. This empowerment in storytelling inspired others to craft their own narratives, challenging dominant paradigms. As Jay-Z continued to build upon this foundation, his influence permeated industries and communities, fostering innovation and inclusion. His legacy was not static but dynamic, evolving in response to changing landscapes and emerging opportunities. Ultimately, Jay-Z's journey from underestimated artist to influential businessman illustrated the transformative potential within each individual and community. It was a testament to the power of challenging norms, embracing complexity, and envisioning new possibilities. This legacy continues to inspire, inviting future generations to dream boldly and redefine success in ways that reflect their unique identities and aspirations. Jay-Z's story remains a beacon, a narrative of hope, resilience, and the enduring belief that change is possible when courage meets vision.